The glass tower looms like a monument to power, its towering structure cutting through the night sky. Inside, in a room as sleek and cold as the city below, the billionaire CEO sits alone, shackled. His face, a mask of grief and frustration, betrays the shock of his fall. His expensive suit is wrinkled, his hair disheveled, and his hands, once the hands of a man who controlled everything, now confined by cold metal cuffs. Across from him, a child stands, eyes wide with fear. It is the same child who once looked up to him as a symbol of hope and success, but now, in this moment of unbearable tension, that hope has turned to confusion. The CEO's voice cracks as he speaks. "I built an empire, but I couldn't save you." The room is silent, heavy with a sorrow that words cannot describe. The world outside the glass wall spins on, unaware of the chaos within. This moment, raw and unfinished, marks the beginning of the end. The office falls silent, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. The child, still unsure, takes a hesitant step forward. Their voice breaks the silence. "Why are you?" The CEO looks at them, eyes wide with regret. "I tried to save you. I tried to fix everything," he whispers, his voice trembling with the weight of unspoken pain. The child stares at him, confusion written across their face. There's no more anger, no more fear, just a deep, aching sense of loss. They turn away, their eyes filled with the innocent sadness of someone who knows they'll never fully understand the choices made for them. The CEO's eyes follow them as they leave the room, his breath shallow, as if he's holding on to the last shred of control he has left. As the child leaves, the CEO slumps in his chair, his face buried in his hands. The office, once a symbol of success, now feels suffocating. His mind races through the past, the decisions, the moments where he could have turned things around, the times he chose the business over his family. But now it's too late. There's nothing left to fix. The city lights flicker outside, a stark reminder of the empire he built, but the emptiness he feels inside is more consuming than anything he ever achieved. The pain of losing everything isn't the end of the story, it's just the beginning. His empire is gone, but his personal demons remain, stronger than ever. The CEO lifts his head slowly, his eyes hollow, and stares at the cold glass walls of the office. He reaches for his phone, but pauses before dialing. A new decision lingers in the air. An old friend, a former partner, someone he could trust. But he knows it's a call he may never make. The shadows around him deepen, and the world outside continues to turn, oblivious to his torment. The weight of everything he's lost presses on his chest, each breath harder than the last. He has nothing left. The empire is gone, the family broken, and he stands on the edge, wondering if he has the strength to even take the next step. The phone rings in his hand, but he doesn't pick it up. The vibrations echo through the empty office, a haunting reminder of the past he can't escape. His finger hovers over the screen, but he withdraws it, as if the very act of calling could unravel what little control he has left. The weight of the empire he built is now a chain around his neck, suffocating him with every passing second. His gaze drifts to the city lights outside, which seem to mock him with their unyielding brilliance, their movement a stark contrast to his stagnant, broken life. Every choice, every moment that led to this point, flashes before his eyes in rapid succession. He built an empire, but now all he has is the crushing silence of his own failures. He stands, the emptiness in his chest growing. He walks to the window, gazing out at the skyline as if seeking answers that the city can't provide. The child's memory lingers like a shadow over the CEO's mind. Years before, when he was still climbing the ladder to success, he had promised that nothing would be more important than his family. He would never repeat the mistakes of his father, who had failed him and left him to watch helplessly as his mother struggled to survive. But as the years passed, the child grew, and the promises he made were buried beneath the weight of ambition. One night, sitting at a worn-out kitchen table, the child, no older than 9, looked at him with piercing eyes and said, "I'll never be like you." The words stung, but they were true. The child saw through the veneer of success. The CEO tried to reassure them, but the doubt had already taken root. He couldn't help but wonder, as the years went by, if he had become exactly what he feared most, just like his father. Now, standing in the cold glass tower, the weight of that realization is too much to bear. Years later, the young woman steps into the boardroom, her heart pounding with anticipation. She's come a long way from the broken girl who once was turned away by her own dreams. As a child, she had watched her own mother struggle to make ends meet, unable to break through the glass ceiling that seemed to hang above her. But now, this was her chance. The boardroom is cold, sterile, its walls lined with impersonal technology. She stands at the head of the table, a sea of sharp-suited executives watching her with skepticism. Her voice, though confident, cracks slightly as she begins her pitch. Every ounce of her being has led to this moment, but in the back of her mind, she wonders if it's enough. Is she too young? Too inexperienced? Too female? The words swirl in her mind as the cold stares of the men around the table pierce her. She knows she has to prove herself, to fight for her place. But she can already feel the weight of their judgment, and it threatens to undo everything she's worked for. Outside the boardroom, the young woman's mind races. She steps into the quiet hallway, her heart still pounding from the tension inside. Her hand reaches for her phone, her fingers shaking slightly as she scrolls through the messages. There's one from her mother. "I know you can do this." The words are simple, but they cut through the noise in her mind. Her mother had never been given the chance to succeed in a world that wasn't built for women like her. She had fought so hard, only to be rejected at every turn. The young woman feels the weight of that legacy, the unspoken promise to honor her mother's sacrifices. But there's a catch: she must push through the same glass ceilings that crushed her mother's hopes. The moment feels heavy with responsibility. But as she stands there alone in the hallway, she makes a silent vow. She will not fail. Not for herself, and not for her mother. Back in the CEO's glass tower, the man gazes at the skyline, the city sprawled beneath him like an unyielding force. He has reached the pinnacle of success, or so he thought. As a boy, he had watched his father's rise and fall, and he swore he would never make the same mistakes. Yet here he is, alone in a lavish office, drowning in success that feels more like a prison than a triumph. The city, glittering in the distance, no longer feels like a symbol of victory. It feels like a reminder of everything he sacrificed. The constant work, the late nights, the lost moments with his family, all building to this singular point where he has everything but the one thing that matters most: connection. He was so focused on building his empire that he lost sight of what it meant to build a life. The regret weighs heavily on him, and in the quiet of the office, it feels like his empire is built on the ruins of his own personal failure. The phone rings again, and this time, the CEO answers. His voice is strained as he speaks to someone on the other end. "I need to see you," he says, his words low and urgent. The person on the other end responds, but the CEO's gaze drifts again to the city, his thoughts clouded by the decisions that brought him here. He disconnects the call without saying goodbye and leans back in his chair. The weight of his isolation presses on him. Even with all the success, the moment feels hollow. He wonders if the sacrifices he made were worth it. Could he have chosen a different path? He recalls the moments in his life where he had a chance to stop, to make things right, but he kept going, always chasing more. Now, all he has is the view from the top, and yet he feels more distant from the world than ever before. The CEO stands at the edge of his empire, a man who has seen the heights of success and the depths of failure. His business is booming, but the cost is clear: long nights, strained relationships, and endless sacrifices. Sleeplessness has become his constant companion, and the glimmer of his former dreams now seems dim and out of reach. The phone calls, the meetings, the decisions, they all blur together in a haze of exhaustion. His mind is a battlefield, torn between his professional drive and the growing realization that he's losing touch with everything that once mattered. The emptiness he thought he could fill with success is only deepening. The truth is undeniable now: the business is thriving, but he is not. The price of ambition has been higher than he could ever imagine, and the more he gains, the more he loses. And in the quiet moments, alone with his thoughts, he wonders, was it all worth it? The young woman stands at a crowded airport terminal, her suitcase at her side, eyes scanning the bustling crowd. She has just returned from a business trip that took her to the edge, on the verge of securing a major deal, but everything now feels hollow. She has become the embodiment of everything she once despised, a corporate machine driven by profit, her relationships sacrificed on the altar of success. Her phone rings again, but she lets it go to voicemail. The pressure to succeed has stolen her peace, and the quiet moments she once cherished are now filled with a gnawing emptiness. She thought she could handle it all, but the weight of expectations, both from herself and others, is beginning to break her. As she watches families reunited and friends laughing, she can't help but feel the distance between herself and the life she left behind. She asks herself, was this really what I wanted? But the answer is unclear. Back in the CEO's office, the endless cycle of meetings and decisions continues. The weight of it all is starting to show. His face is drawn, his movements slower, more deliberate. He's winning, yet it feels like he's losing everything else. Late nights have replaced family dinners, and boardroom victories have become a hollow victory. He looks around the office, seeing it as a place of triumph, but also of deep personal cost. His phone vibrates, and for a moment he hesitates before answering. It's a call from his daughter, and he knows it's important. He presses decline. The decision stings, but there is no time. The company demands more, and his priorities shift further away from the family he swore to protect. Each victory feels emptier than the last, as he continues to climb, not knowing how far he has to fall before realizing the true price of success. The young woman stares out her office window, watching the world pass by beneath her. The city is bustling with life, yet she feels disconnected from it all. The success she worked so hard for is in her grasp, but the joy that should come with it is absent. She watches colleagues celebrate the latest achievement, their laughter echoing through the halls. She forces a smile, but inside, she feels more isolated than ever. She recalls the day she started, bright-eyed, determined, and full of hope. But now, with everything she fought for in her hands, she wonders what it was all for. She remembers a conversation with her mother years ago when she was just a girl. Don't ever let them define who you are. Be more than your job. But how could she when the world has made it clear that she must prove herself in this world, on these terms? Her smile fades, and a feeling of emptiness fills the space where her ambition once lived. The phone rings again, this time on the young woman's desk. She picks it up, her heart pounding as she hears the voice of a former mentor. "We need to talk," the voice says, filled with urgency. She knows what's coming. A new deal, a new opportunity, but at what cost? The pressure to succeed is mounting, and she can feel it like a weight on her chest. She looks around the office, her colleagues busy with their own work, unaware of the storm brewing within her. She's at the top of her game, but she's also at the edge of losing herself. The mentor continues speaking, but her mind begins to wander. She recalls the promises she made to herself years ago, to never lose who she was in the pursuit of success. But here she is, standing at the crossroads, unsure if she's still the person she thought she was. The decision looms large, and for the first time she feels the true cost of ambition. The weight of betrayal crashes down on the CEO as he uncovers the truth. Everything he believed about his company, his success, and his legacy is built on a lie. His co-founder, the person he trusted above all others, isn't just a business partner. They are his sibling, hidden from him for years. The realization comes like a punch to the gut, one that leaves him gasping for breath. The betrayal goes deeper. The one person he thought was his mentor, the person who guided him through every challenge, had been stealing from him all along. The empire he fought to build is not his own. Everything he thought he knew, everything he believed in, is now crumbling. He stares at the papers in front of him, his hands shaking as he tries to comprehend the enormity of the lie that's been fed to him. His mind races. How could he have missed this? The very people he trusted the most were the ones who brought him to the brink of ruin. In the midst of the chaos, the young woman receives a call that sends a shockwave through her entire being. The company she worked for, the one she fought tooth and nail to be a part of, has betrayed her. The deal she thought was her breakthrough has fallen apart. Worse still, the very people she trusted, the colleagues who were once friends, have turned on her. The contract she helped secure was only a ruse to push her out. Her heart sinks as the realization sets in: she has been used. The hours, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, it was all for nothing. She tries to shake off the anger that rises within her, but the weight of it is too much. She slams the phone down, her breath shallow, her fists clenched at her sides. The betrayal feels personal, a crushing blow to her soul, and as she stands there, alone in her office, she wonders how she could have been so blind. The CEO feels the walls closing in on him. His health, which had been slowly deteriorating for months, suddenly takes a sharp turn for the worse. The stress of the betrayals, combined with his already fragile state, becomes too much to bear. His body aches, and his breathing becomes labored. He struggles to stay upright in his chair, his mind racing as the weight of everything presses down on him. The empire he built is crumbling, his family torn apart, and now his own body is betraying him. He grabs his chest, a sharp pain shooting through him, but he refuses to acknowledge the severity. He can't afford to fall apart. Not now. Not when everything he's worked for is slipping through his fingers. He struggles to focus, but it's clear that the end is near. His final battle is not one he can fight with ambition or force. He's running out of time. The young woman stands in front of a mirror, staring at her reflection, trying to comprehend the betrayal that has just unfolded. The contract she spent years working on, the project that should have secured her place in the corporate world, is now the very thing that will drive her out. Her face, once filled with hope and ambition, now looks foreign to her. She doesn't recognize the person in the mirror. All her life, she had been told that success was the ultimate goal. But now that she's reached it, it feels like a hollow victory. She questions everything she's ever known, everything she's ever wanted. The ambition that once fueled her now feels like a chain, binding her to a system that values profit over people, success over integrity. Her phone buzzes again, but this time she doesn't answer. The world keeps turning, but she's no longer sure she wants to be a part of it. The CEO collapses into his chair, the realization that his empire is crumbling sinking in. His business, his legacy is being torn apart by the very people he trusted. His health is failing, and there is no way to fix what has been broken. His mind drifts to the early days of his career when he was filled with hope and dreams of making a difference. But somewhere along the way, he lost sight of what truly mattered. Now, as his body betrays him and his empire falls apart, he can't help but wonder if it was all worth it. He looks out the window, the city sprawled beneath him, and for the first time, he feels small. The empire he built is no longer his. It belongs to those who played him, those who used him. And as the light fades from his eyes, he realizes that the real legacy he's leaving behind is one of failure and regret. The boardroom is silent, heavy with the weight of what is about to happen. The CEO stands at the head of the table, the faces of the board members staring at him with unreadable expressions. His empire, what's left of it, is on the line. The decision he's about to make will either save his legacy or destroy it completely. His hands shake as he places a stack of papers on the table. Plans for the future of the company, proposals for deals that could either restore his reputation or signal its final collapse. His voice is calm, though inside, a storm rages. "We can turn this around," he says, but the words feel hollow. He has no choice but to fight for everything, even if he's not sure if there's anything left worth saving. The board members exchange glances, and the tension in the room thickens. The final vote is about to be cast, and with it, everything will change. The vote is cast, and the result is clear. Everything he's worked for is about to crumble. The final decision is made, and it's not in his favor. As the board members stand to leave, the CEO remains seated, numb, staring at the papers in front of him. The weight of failure settles over him like a heavy shroud. The empire that he built, that he bled for, is slipping away, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. He feels the sting of betrayal all over again, this time not just from the people who deceived him, but from himself. He looks around the room, the cold, empty walls closing in on him, and for the first time in years, he wonders if all of this was ever worth it. He made decisions that led him here, decisions he can never undo, and now he faces the consequences. He stands slowly, a man broken by his own choices, and walks away from the table, the finality of it all sinking in. The young woman stands at the podium, her gaze sweeping over the room filled with investors and executives. She's been here before presenting deals, making her case, but today feels different. Today, she has a choice to make, a choice that will define the rest of her life. The opportunity before her is massive, but it comes at a personal cost. She knows the price of success too well now. The realization hits her like a wave. She has sacrificed so much to get here, but it hasn't made her happy. The applause that follows her presentation feels empty, like an echo of a life she no longer wants. She wonders if this is really the life she envisioned when she first started. The choices she has made, the compromises she's endured, have led her here, but at what cost? The decision she makes today will determine her future, but also whether she continues to let her ambition define her, or if she finds a way to reclaim herself. Back in his office, the CEO stands before the glass window, looking out at the city. The night is dark, but the city is alive with light. It's beautiful, but it feels distant. He can hear the echo of the boardroom vote in his mind, the finality of it. His empire is slipping away, but he's too tired to fight. The weight of everything he's lost, the trust of those he loved, the company he built, his own health, has become too much to bear. He knows he can't go back, that there is no way to undo the mistakes he's made. For the first time, he accepts that the battle is over. He has nothing left to prove, nothing left to fight for. The decision has been made. He takes a deep breath, a man resigned to his fate, and steps away from the window. His future is uncertain, but the past has come to a close. The moment feels heavy, the weight of his choices settling around him like an unshakable truth. The moment of truth has arrived. The young woman stands in front of a mirror, her reflection staring back at her. She has made the decision to walk away. The deal she was about to sign, the career she spent years building, no longer holds the same meaning. The life she imagined for herself is slipping away with every passing day. She sees the face in the mirror, the one that's become a stranger to her, and for the first time in years, she feels at peace with her decision. She can't continue down this path of self-destruction, driven by a pursuit of success that's never brought her happiness. The phone rings, but this time she lets it go. She takes a deep breath, looking at herself one last time before stepping away. It's time to find a new purpose, one that isn't defined by the number of deals she closes or the power she holds. It's time to reclaim her life, her true self. The CEO sits in his office, the once pristine space now a quiet shell of its former self. The phone is silent, the papers on his desk no longer requiring his attention. His empire, though still standing, feels like a shadow of what it once was. He thought that success would bring him happiness, but instead, it has only left him with regret. He reflects on the long nights, the relationships lost, the promises broken. His daughter's face flashes in his mind, a reminder of the moments he missed, of the love he sacrificed for ambition. He no longer knows if he has the strength to rebuild or if it's even worth trying. The weight of what he's lost is suffocating. Yet as he gazes out the window at the city below, he realizes that the business still has life in it, but he doesn't. The future, once so bright, is now uncertain. He made sacrifices, and now, it's time to live with the consequences. The young woman stands in front of her apartment window, looking out over the city that once represented everything she aspired to. She has walked away from the corporate world, but the emptiness she once felt is now replaced by something different. A sense of peace. The pressure to succeed, the constant race for recognition, no longer consumes her. She thinks back to her mother's words, "Don't ever let them define who you are." and she feels a weight lift off her shoulders. She is free, not from the world, but from the expectations that have bound her. It wasn't easy to let go, to walk away from the world she built, but in doing so, she has found herself again. There is a new chapter waiting for her, one where success isn't defined by power or money, but by the strength of her own convictions. The path ahead is unclear, but for the first time she's not afraid. The CEO walks through his office one last time, his fingers lightly grazing the edge of his desk. He stops in front of the large glass window, staring out at the city that he once thought would be his legacy. The glass reflects his weary face, a stark reminder of how far he's come, and how far he's fallen. But there is something different now. The weight of his choices no longer feels unbearable. He knows that he can't undo the past, but maybe he doesn't need to. What matters now is the future, and what he will do with the time he has left. The empire he built is not just about business, it's about people. His relationships, the love he had once ignored, are what truly matter. The realization is bittersweet, but it brings with it a sense of clarity. He turns from the window, no longer a man defined by his wealth, but by the lessons learned in his fall. The young woman walks down a quiet street, the world around her feeling softer, more vibrant. The weight she had carried for so long is gone. And for the first time in years, she feels the freedom of simply being. She passes by a café, its windows fogged with warmth and laughter, and for a moment she stops. She looks inside, seeing people laughing, talking, and living without the pressure of achieving or proving anything. She smiles to herself, knowing that she has finally found what she's been searching for. She doesn't need to be defined by her success or the expectations of others. What matters now is her own happiness, the quiet moments that make life beautiful. She walks on, her pace steady, no longer rushing towards something that isn't real. The journey ahead is uncertain, but for the first time she feels ready to face it with open arms. The CEO sits in a small cafe, alone, but at peace. The city outside the window is bustling with life, but inside, there is a sense of quiet contentment. He sips his coffee slowly, the warmth of the cup a stark contrast to the chill that once dominated his life. His thoughts drift to his daughter, to the people he has wronged, to the relationships he has to rebuild. There is no more rush, no more drive to conquer the world. For the first time, he understands that success isn't measured by the size of his empire, but by the people he's touched along the way. The future is uncertain, but the journey feels different now. He looks up from his cup, smiling softly as he watches a young couple walk past, their laughter filling the air. Life continues, and he's finally ready to live it on his own terms. The CEO stands before a mirror, his face reflected back at him, older, wiser, but unmistakably changed. The last few years have been nothing short of a journey, one that left scars, but also built a resilience he never knew he had. The mirror, once a symbol of self-obsession, now feels different. He doesn't see the man who built an empire. He sees someone who has learned to live with his flaws, someone who has finally made peace with his mistakes. Behind him, fireworks explode in the night sky, a distant celebration, but his focus remains solely on himself. For once, he's not chasing after anything. He's standing still, a man who has found something more profound than success. He's found clarity. He exhales slowly, his reflection no longer a stranger. The past is over, and with it, he's finally free. The CEO's hand lingers on the door handle, just for a moment, as he takes one last look at the office, the space where it all started. The glass walls, once symbols of his dominance, now feel like barriers he's ready to break down. He opens the door slowly, stepping into the unknown. The weight of the world that once rested on his shoulders feels lighter now. The decision has been made. The company will go on, but he won't. He's done, not because of failure, but because he's finally realized that his life is more than the empire he built. He steps forward, his stride steady, his head held high. The door swings closed behind him, marking the end of a chapter. What lies ahead is uncertain, but for the first time in years, he is at peace with that. The young woman enters the boardroom, but this time, she doesn't walk in with the weight of expectations on her shoulders. Her steps are confident, but not because she has something to prove. She enters not to conquer, but to be herself. The room is full of people, but her focus is elsewhere. The chair at the head of the table is empty, a symbolic representation of the space she's carving out for herself, a place where she no longer has to measure her worth by what others expect. She stands tall, no longer defined by power, but by the strength of her convictions. As she looks around the room, she realizes that she no longer needs their approval. What matters is what she chooses to build now, not for them, but for herself. The journey ahead is hers to shape, and for the first time, she feels ready to take the next step. The CEO sits in a small cafe, watching the world go by outside the window. The city, still vibrant and alive, continues its rhythm, but for him, time feels different now. He's no longer chasing anything, he's simply living. A child's laughter drifts through the open door, and for a moment, he smiles. Life has a way of moving forward, whether we are ready for it or not. He knows he can't change the past, but he's learning to embrace the present. The empire, the accolades, the endless pursuit of success, they're all behind him now. The coffee in his cup is warm, comforting, a simple pleasure that feels new. For the first time he realizes that the moments that matter aren't the ones where he's striving for something more. It's in the quiet, peaceful ones like this where everything just is. A child's hand reaches for the empty chair at the head of the boardroom table. It's a quiet moment, a symbolic passing of the torch. The child, now grown, stands at the threshold, the future stretching out before them. The room is still, and the echoes of past decisions hang in the air, but they are not burdened by them. There's no need to prove anything anymore. The child sits in the chair, not as a replacement for the CEO, but as someone who will carve their own path, learning from the past but not constrained by it. They look around the room, and for the first time, they realize that the true legacy isn't about power or empire. It's about growth, resilience, and the ability to move forward. They smile softly, their future open and full of possibility.